Hello, and welcome to my channel. Close your eyes, lean back, and let yourself be carried by the story. Surrender yourself to the story for a peaceful sleep. First, subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. What did I maintain men during freezing nights? The last light of day was often the most beautiful moment in the mountains. As the sun disappeared behind distant peaks, the sky turned shades of gold, purple, and deep blue. Snow-covered ridges reflected the fading light, while long shadows stretched across forests and valleys. To a traveler seeing such a landscape for the first time, it might have appeared, but the men who lived in these mountains understood something important. The beauty of sunset was also a warning. Night was temperatures were falling, and survival depended on preparation. During the late 18th and early 19th centuries, thousands of trappers, hunters, explorers, and traders ventured into the vast wilderness of America. Many of them became known as mountain men. They traveled through the Rocky Mountains, crossed rivers, explored unknown valleys, and spent long periods living far from settlements. Their lives demanded endurance, patience, and practical knowledge. Every season presented challenges. Winter nights were often the most difficult. As darkness approached, a mountain man rarely wasted time. One of his first priorities was choosing a suitable campsite. A poor location could expose him to strong winds, flooding, or dangerous animals. Experienced meant for natural protection. A stand of pine trees would reduce the force of cold winds. A rocky hillside it might provide shelter from storms. Camps were usually established near water whenever possible, although in winter frozen streams often required extra effort to access. Once a campsite had been selected, attention turned to firewood. Gathering wood before nightfall was essential. The cold of the mountains could come deadly after sunset. Men collected far more wood than they expected to need, because venturing into darkness for additional tussle supplies carried risks. Dry wood was especially valuable. Even after snowfall, experienced woodsmen how to locate dead standing trees, whose interiors remain dry enough to burn. The campfire soon became the center of life. Its warmth provided comfort, but its importance extended far beyond alone. Fire allowed food to be cooked, water to be boiled, clothing to be dried, and tools to be repaired. It also offered psychological comfort. In a wilderness often felt endless, the glow of a fire created a small island of security. Shelter was equally important. Not every mountain man carried a tent. Some built temporary structures from logs, branches, animal hides, or brush. Others relied on simple lean-tos that reflected heat from the fire. During severe weather, more elaborate shelters could be constructed. Historical accounts describe trappers building cabins, using natural caves when available, or when windbreaks from available materials. The construction of a shelter required experience. A poorly built shelter could trap moisture, allowing clothing and bedding to become damp. In freezing temperatures, moisture became an enemy. Staying dry was often as important as staying warm. Mountain men learned through hard experience that wet could quickly lead to dangerous risks, loss of body heat. As night settled over the mountains, the villagers changed. Daytime birds. Wind moved through the trees with a low and steady voice. Occasionally, the distant howl of wolves echoed across valleys. Contrary to popular myths, wolves rarely posed a significant threat to healthy adults. Yet, presence reminded travelers that they shared the landscape with powerful wildlife. After the camp had been secured, attention turned toward food. Men often depended on game they hunted themselves. Deer, elk, bison, rabbits, other animals provided meat when hunting was successful. Fish supplemented to diets near rivers and streams. In winter, however, obtaining food could become more difficult. Animals migrated, weather-limited travel, and opportunities became less predictable. Meals were often simple. Fresh meat might be roasted over an open fire. Preserved foods, such as jerky, dried beans, and cornmeal were common supplies. Pemmican, a mixture traditionally made from dried meat and fat, became especially valuable. It was lightweight, nutritious, and could remain edible for long periods. Mountain men learned the importance of pemmican through contact with indigenous peoples who had perfected its preparation. As food cooked over the fire, men sometimes reflected on the journeys that had brought them into the mountain. Many had left behind farms, hounds, towns, or families. Some sought adventure. Others hoped profit from the fur trade. Beaver remained highly valuable in international markets, creating strong incentives to explore remote territories. The fur trade shaped much of life in the mountains. Trappers, long days checking trap lines, navigating rivers, and searching for product locations. Success required detailed knowledge of animal behavior and local geography. During winter evenings, traps often needed repair and maintenance. Equipment represented survival as much as livelihood. Firearms also demanded attention. Rifles were essential tools for hunting and protection. Dirt and cold weather could interfere with their operation. Mountain men cleaned and inspected their weapons before sleeping. A reliable rifle might mean the difference between safety and hardship. Not every night was peaceful. Storms occasionally arrived with little warning. Strong winds drove snow through forests and across open ground. Visibility vanished. Travel became impossible, and thus Under such conditions, reminiscence, reigning inside shelter, and conserving energy became critical. Historical journals describe storms lasting for days, trapping travelers in camps while supplies gradually diminished. During long periods of isolation, companionship became especially valuable. Many mountain men traveled in groups. Shared labor improved survival prospects. One man might gather wood while another prepared food. Responsibilities could be divided, according to experience and circumstances. Around the campfire, conversation often filled the evening hours. Stories became a form of entertainment and education. Experience shared lessons learned from wilderness. In the wilderness, younger men listened carefully. A story about a dangerous river crossing or an unexpected storm might someday save a life. The mountains also brought encounters with native amenities. Relations varied considerably depending on region, circumstance, and in historical conditions. In cases indigenous knowledge proved invaluable, native peoples possessed generations of experience living within these environments. Their understanding of seasonal changes, travel routes, food sources, and survival techniques often exceeded that of newcomers. Many mountain men adopted indigenous practices. They learned how to construct effective clothing, building, identify useful plants, preserve food, and navigate difficult terrain. Historical records show that cooperation and exchange played important roles in frontier survival. As the fire burned lower, practical tasks continued. Clothing required repair. Moccasins and boots experienced constant wear. Small tears left unattended could become serious problems during long needles, thread, and patience often occupied evening hours. Some men kept journals. These writings provide modern historians with valuable insight into daily life. Entries frequently described weather conditions, hunting success, travel distances, and encounters with other people. Although many journals were brief, they reveal the routine realities behind popular legends. The image of the mountain man has often been romanticized. Popular stories portray fearless adventurers conquering nature through strength alone. The reality was more complex. Survival depended less on heroism than on preparation, discipline, and knowledge. Careful decisions, repeated day after day, created success. Winter intensified every challenge. Waters froze. Food became scarcer. Threatened exposed skin. Sleep planning made from wool or animal hides provided insulation, but sleeping close to the fire remained important. Many men awoke during the night to add wood and maintain warmth. Dangerous animals occasionally approached camps. Bears were generally less active during winter months, though not entirely absent. Smaller predators sometimes investigated camps in search of food. Proper storage of supplies reduced risks. Experience taught mountain men how to minimize unwanted encounters. The night sky offered moments of extraordinary beauty. Far from cities and artificial light, stars appeared with remarkable clarity. The Milky Way stretched across the heavens like a river of light. Travelers often commented on the brilliance of these skies. For men spending months in remote wilderness, such sights became familiar companions. Yet beauty could not eliminate loneliness. Many mountain men spent years separated from family and friends. Letters traveled slowly, if at all. News from distant settlements might arrive months late. During long winter nights, memories of home often returned. Some embraced solitude, others struggled with it. Human beings are social by nature, and isolation imposed psychological challenges alongside physical hardships. Campfire conversations, shared word work, and occasional gatherings helped reduce these pressures. One of the most anticipated events in the fur trade world is the Aurorundivers. Gatherings brought together trappers, traders, and suppliers. Goods were exchanged, news was shared, and friendships renewed. For men who spent of the year in the view in non-isolation on verse, rare opportunities for community. Still, most nights occurred far from such gatherings, remained massed and largely empty. Snow-covered mountains stretched endlessly toward the horizon. Rivers wound through silent valleys. Forests dark beneath moonlit skies. Hours passed slowly. The fire crackled softly. Wind brushed against the shelter walls. Occasionally someone rose to add another log. Sparks drifted upward before disappearing into darkness. Toward morning, temperatures often reached their lowest point. The cold became sharper and more persistent. Formed clouds in the air. Frost gathered along shelter edges and blankets. These final hours before sunrise frequently tested endurance. Eventually, the eastern horizon began to lighten. Darkness retreated from the mountains. Trees emerged from shadow. Snow reflected the first hints of daylight. Another night had passed. For mountain men, survival rarely depended on dramatic moments. It depended on countless mundane actions performed correctly. Choosing a campsite, gathering sufficient wood, maintaining equipment, conserving food, protecting clothing from moisture, listening to experienced advice, respecting and terrain. These habits allowed men to endure conditions that appeared impossible. The mountains rewarded knowledge, and those who survived learned to adapt rather than dominate. Today, the wilderness remains, though much has changed. Cross valleys, once known only to trappers, modern equipment meant comfort that earlier generations could scarcely imagine. Yet the stories of the mountain men continue to fascinate because they reveal something timeless about human resilience. When night fell across the frozen Rockies 2 centuries ago, there were no guarantees of seas or success. There was only preparation, experience, and determination. Around small fires beneath enormous skies faced the cold with the tools and knowledge available to them. Some prospered, some struggled. All became part of a remarkable chapter in the history of the North American frontier. And as dawn spread across the mountain moons, illuminating forests, rivers, and distant peaks, the wilderness awakened again. Another day of travel, hunting, trapping, and survival lay ahead. The fire were rekindled, and equipment gathered, and footprints extended into the snow. The long night was over, but the frontier journey continued.